Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smart Cities and Service Improvement Committee meeting in November. It's November 4th. Excited for our agenda today. We'll start by calling roll.
Foley, Jones,
Present.
Liccardo, Cohen,
Here.
and Mahan.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's like we just made it. All right. So, Rob, do you want to introduce our agenda topics today?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Mahan, Mayor Liccardo, Vice Mayor Jones, committee members, and members of the public. I'm Rob Lloyd, Chief Information Officer for the City of San Jose. Today, city staffs will present on 3 items related to major program areas in the city that have key service improvement initiatives affecting the community. First, under agenda item D1, we have a status report on the rollout of Firstnet to all of our emergency responders in the city. Here, we're applying lessons from past disasters so that Firstnet can enable the city to be more responsive and situationally aware in emergencies. A team led by Ashish Lakiani, IT Products Projects Manager, Daniel Tucker, Alert and Warning Coordinator, and Abby Shull, Assistant to the City Manager and Broadband Manager, will present for us. We will follow that with D2, a dive into the city's multi-year development services transformation effort that reshapes planning, building, permitting, code enforcement, and fire safety. As you know, this is a city roadmap item with multiple departments as stakeholders in the success of the efforts. For this, we have Chris Burton, PBCE Director, and Alex Powell, Chief of Staff for PBCE as presenters. And last, we'll have D3, which is a status update on the growing use of technology and data in meeting the needs of the city's affordable housing initiatives. And for that, we have Rachel Vanderveen, Deputy Director for Housing, and Dhruv Hamadi, IT Products Project Manager, to present on behalf of those teams. And so with that, first up is the Firstnet program update, and we're happy to report significant progress. Abby Shull from the City Manager's Office will kick us off.
And Rob, just for the record, I just want to confirm, we do not have any changes to the work plan, and we do not have any consent calendar items, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, great. Take it away, Abby.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Rob. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Chairperson Mahan, committee members, and members of the public. I'm Abby Shull, Assistant to the City Manager and Broadband Manager in the City Manager's Office of Civic Innovation. I'm happy to be here today to share an update on the Firstnet program. We will go through an introduction of what Firstnet is, the status of the citywide device deployment, examples of Firstnet in action, and next steps as the program shifts from deployment to ongoing management. First, a quick primer on Firstnet. Firstnet emerged from lessons learned from 9/11, which revealed fundamental problems with public safety communications systems. Land and mobile phone lines were overwhelmed with congestion, and first responders and other support teams resorted to hand couriers to communicate. To address the problem, Congress mandated the creation of Firstnet in 2012 to implement a nationwide interoperable public safety broadband network. The Firstnet network is now over 95% built out nationwide and is dedicated exclusively to first responders and public safety. The network is physically separate, redundant, highly secure, and restored first in any disaster. Next slide, please. Firstnet has two categories of users, primary users and extended primary users. The city's primary users are first responders, the police department, fire department, Office of Emergency Management, and continuity of government staff. Extended primary users are city staff and all other city departments and offices who directly support responsibilities in the city's emergency operations plan or provide critical city service during an emergency. Next slide. In a disaster, Firstnet ensures that the city's teams in charge of critical response tasks can communicate and share data over a dedicated network to save lives and serve the community. The Emergency Operations Plan anticipates the full spectrum of possible events, from minor incidents to large-scale disasters. And communication and coordination across departments and offices is key. Firstnet links the city's teams by providing priority access on the mobile network, and if the network is down or supplemental network capacity is needed, portable cell sites can be deployed at no cost to provide network access through satellite connectivity. Next slide, please. The Firstnet deployment is a high priority innovation and technology project in the city roadmap. The citywide deployment is on track for completion by May 2022, and the status is green. Next slide, please. The Firstnet deployment is structured into 4 phases of implementation. The project started in November 2019 in pilot phase with the police and fire departments. In phase 2, the police department accelerated and fully completed their Firstnet phone deployment, and the city rollout expanded to include the Office of Emergency Management and early adopters in Public Works. In phase 3, the deployment scaled to citywide and was highly expedited during the pandemic with tremendous help and support from every city department and office. And now we are in phase 4. All phones, tablets, and hotspots have been deployed, and the final fleet installations are underway, after which over 4,100 devices will be deployed in total. The police vehicle installations are 100% complete, and the remaining fire and Office of Emergency Management fleet installations are expected to be complete in May 2022. And I want to give a special thanks to the Fleet Services team in Public Works for their hard work on these installations. Next slide, please. Overall, Firstnet devices fall into 2 categories. One is phones, tablets, and hotspots, and the second is vehicle modems. 3,500 phones, tablets, and hotspots have been deployed citywide, and 468 vehicle modems have been installed. The remaining 174 vehicle modems are on track to be completed by May 2022. I'll now hand it off to Ashish Lakiani.
Thank you, Abby. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Chairperson, members of the committee, and members of the public. I am Ashish Lakiani, Products Projects Manager in the Information Technology Department. City departments are using Firstnet devices to provide public safety and deliver services every day and for response during public events and incidents. During Cinco de Mayo, when network bandwidth was strained by crowds sending pictures and text messages, live streaming, the police department used Firstnet's priority access feature called Uplift to preempt any commercial network traffic on the network. This ensured police staff were able to connect and stay connected to the public safety network while commercial networks were congested. The police department also called in a portable satellite cell on light truck called SatCold for Cinco de Mayo to ensure network capacity was available for critical police communications during the event. The police department regularly uses uplift and, when necessary, portable cell deployables to keep their public safety operations running during periods of high network congestion. Public Works is also using Firstnet to improve its operations. Their IT team uses a camera application on their Firstnet phones to capture the direction and location of field photos for accurate record keeping. The picture here of the Three Creeks pedestrian bridge is an example of the data that is captured at the top of each field photo. Using applications like this to support everyday operations helps prepare teams for a disaster. It builds muscle memory, so staff are familiar with mobile devices and tools to use when an emergency strikes. After nearly a year without rain, Public Works staff were closely monitoring water levels during the storm a few weeks ago on October 24th. Field teams kept a close eye on the rising waters throughout the night and used their Firstnet phones to send photos and data to the flood monitoring team. The photos here are examples of the field team's water level monitoring at Ross Creek on the left, and on the right is Williams Bridge. The storm and sewer team in the Department of Transportation are putting their Firstnet devices to good use in the field to support proactive maintenance and monitoring. Their team uses their Unity Salesforce application and the Firstnet network to record information from the field for preventive and corrective maintenance to storm and sanitary assets. This helps the city prepare for storm season and mitigate the risk of flooding and backups. It also allows the storm and sewer team to identify vulnerable areas and monitor them in case of unexpected events. With the Firstnet deployment nearly complete, we are beginning to transition the program to ongoing management and support. This includes managing over 4,100 devices, overseeing citywide orders and billing for services, allocating staff to administer the ongoing components of the program, collaborating with AT&T and providing city feedback to improve Firstnet and to address any network gaps, seeking and applying for state and federal funding opportunities that can help sustain the program and provide continuous support to citywide Firstnet users and to ensure emergency communications preparedness across the city. Any resource needs will be brought to City Council and included in the 22-23 proposed budget actions. I'll now hand it over to Daniel Tucker from Office of Emergency Management. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you, Ashish. Good morning, members of the committee, chairperson, and members of the public. I'm Daniel Tucker, the Alert and Warning Coordinator in the Office of Emergency Management. The Office of Emergency Management and City IT departments will be conducting Firstnet workshops and emergency drills for the mayor and city council offices, as well as all city departments in January and February 2022. During these drills, you'll gain firsthand experience using Firstnet capabilities and applications with an emergency preparedness and coordination perspective. I'll now hand the presentation back to Ashish.
Thank you, Daniel. The Firstnet deployment is the work of dozens of people in the city. Keeping the community safe is a team effort. This is the work of every department and office in the city and many people on the vendor side that have come together to identify device requirements, distribute devices, support users, and maintain operations. Shown on the screen are some of the many internal and external collaborators who we are grateful for. Thank you to everyone involved and listening. I'll now hand it over to Rob for any final words and for Q&A, questions and answers.
Actually, Chair, if you have any questions or feedback, we can go ahead and take those directly, and then we'll allocate those to the right person on the team.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, and we'll go to public comment in a moment. Just want to thank Abby, Ashish, and Daniel for your presentation, and to everyone who's done a lot of work to help deploy this network. Great to see all the progress. Why don't we go to public comment first? I see one hand up. We'll get the timer up. And just a reminder that this is a status report on the Firstnet deployment. So we need to stay on that topic. Okay, call in user 1. We're ready.
I just want to thank the city for focusing on something that's disaster related, flood related. I want to thank them for putting this together, because it seems as if many things are not focused on that are disaster related. It seems to be more social related. And the city needs people that are on the ball with something like this. I really appreciate the report. And this is what the city council has to work on versus pronoun usage, okay? And we are in a flood zone, and this entire area has been flooded since the time of the Ohlone. If you read about the Ohlone people, they had to move every now and again and didn't settle in certain places because of flooding. And they were able to teach the people who actually colonized them where to build and where not to build. A lot of times they wouldn't believe them, and sure enough, they got flooded out. So the native people did really good work at keeping the creeks open, moving boulders and logs and debris. Even though they had no heavy machinery, they would spend sometimes years doing it, because they knew that when the rain seasons came, that there was going to be flooding. So I think we need to learn from our native past and use some heavy machinery that we have here in the modern day to make sure that the rivers and the creeks debris has been cleared, and that we use our technology to see about preventing future flooding and not focus on gender pronouns. And once again, I just want to thank the staff that put all this together, that they're actually looking into it. And we're going to have emergency services in the event of a flood. I hope that they're prepared. But once again, I want to thank you for that. And let's go, Brandon.
Okay, we're going to come back to the panel. And Mr. Mayor, do you want to get us started?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to thank everybody for their hard work in this successful rollout and doing it so nimbly. I had a question though about, I know it's been a longstanding concern, which is issues about power and reliability of service, particularly as disaster wears on into the second, third, and fourth day. I know we have backup generators, or I shouldn't say we, I think the cellular providers tend to have backup generators at cell towers quite often, but we know that relies on a supply chain, typically of diesel, which would likely be compromised in many disasters such as earthquakes. So wondering if, are we kind of in the same boat as everybody else, relying on a cell phone with these basic power issues? Or is there some hope that with the Firstnet system, AT&T is also going to be deploying some storage, energy storage options, batteries, et cetera, that will make these more resilient than other towers?
And Mr. Mayor, Abby Shull will be able to answer that question in detail as our coordinator with AT&T. We have addressed the issue with them in terms of how long that service level is, what alternatives, and how much reserves they have to be able to make sure that they can get fuel to those sites. We haven't necessarily had the discussion, at least I'm not aware of it, where we've talked about alternative power. But Abby, anything that you would add on that one? And we can take it as a follow-up, Mayor, in any event.
Yeah, I think definitely can take as a follow-up to see about the alternatives. But I do know that AT&T is working on permitting to harden sites and setting up the backup power for not just Firstnet, but other cell towers that they have throughout the city.
Can I ask, I assume these are all relying on the same towers. Am I wrong about that, or is there actually a separate set of infrastructure?
Firstnet is a separate infrastructure, and so that's part of the benefit of it, is that it is separate and distinct from other cellular traffic. So they are separate sites.
Okay, and thank you for that. So do you have any idea what their plan is around backup power or energy storage?
I don't know what their detailed plans are, but I can definitely follow up with you with an
Okay.
understanding of kind of their plans and target timelines. But they are actively working, not just AT&T, all of the cellular carriers are actively working on hardening sites and backup generators and energy supply.
So do we know yet, the energy, when the grid goes down, how many hours we're going to have cell service on these FirstNet phones?
I'll have to take that back and get back to you. I don't know the exact timeline for that.
And Mayor, I think might be able to add in. So they've referenced some number of days. We'll check on the specific service level they have allocated there, but we're due for a meeting with the AT&T liaisons, and so we'll definitely add this to the agenda and follow up with your staff. But they have mentioned a series of days, and FirstNet does have a service level requirement in terms of that resilience. So we do know it's there. We'll get you the specific information.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, really important questions. I had similar ones. Let's go to Vice Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, thank you for the presentation. And this is my question is actually a question that's come up in previous presentations on this topic, but I think it never hurts to have more clarity and understanding. And that is the use of the FirstNet devices along with the radios. Can you walk me through like some scenarios where, they're going to use one versus the other and how they work together and kind of give a holistic picture of, the communication process?
Yeah, I think is Andy Smith. Let me scan through here. Yeah, Andy Smith is here. I'll make a couple introductory comments as he unmutes. So they are viewed as complementary tools, Vice Mayor, in the sense that the radio network is connected to all of the joint response and the regional partners. What FirstNet also does is give you the data applications and that capability on top of that, and then also connects those folks with the extended primary support teams from Public Works to other teams around and Parks and Rec and others that respond in emergency to house folks, put up the response sites and staging areas. But I think Andy should have unmuted by now, so hopefully I bought him enough time.
Yes, Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Andy.
Yeah, just because I'm historically bad at unmuting. I am having some technical difficulties merging the video with this, so I apologize. So yes, the radio system and FirstNet are sole and separate systems. The radio system, as you know, involves 31 sites throughout the county. We use a public safety grade radio, both for police and fire. And I don't want to go back on the mayor's question, but it is my understanding that the AT&T FirstNet is not as hardened and not public safety grade as the radio system is. So we do have not only site security, we have battery backup, we have generator backup. There's no provision for AT&T/FirstNet to 100% harden their sites. So we are kind of at that mercy. So we use the two, as Rob said, complementary. I don't know that that's really the best way to put it, other than we are not going to run into a burning building or chase down a bad guy with a cell phone in place of a radio. It's not public safety grade. It's not going to get us the service and reliability that we need, whereas the radios and the radio system does. So yes, one could go down, the other could be up, vice versa. So they would be complementary, but at the end of the day, public safety radio systems are much more hardened and much more reliable than a phone. And again, a phone is not going to withstand the temperatures in a burning building and a foot pursuit bouncing down the road behind a police officer that's chasing a bad guy. So there's difference in hardware, difference in support systems, and they are two completely separate networks.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for that, Andy. And you're right, that actually partially addresses the mayor's question in terms of backup and redundancy and having a hardened system.
And Vice Mayor, if I can throw a couple on your question examples to you. So the voice of the radio, that is a tried and true, been around for 30 years, that type of technology. And it is that voice connectivity that all of the public safety folks really trust because it has been around so long. And as you can hear from Andy, has that credibility with them. The Firstnet network, we're one of the first cities to deploy it at scale. What it does differently is, for example, pushing out the application that monitors those water levels, where earthquake areas are. If we activate a new staging area, they can see it on their device. There's push to talk. There's also other applications that we can put out there to either give information for situational awareness, plans, contacts, as well as gather information from the field. So that stacking of capabilities gives us some level of redundancy, but also puts applications, data, and information flow into the disaster response equation. So I think we'll learn a lot. It would be one of the key messages we would leave you with over this next 3 to 5 years on how to stack these tools together in the best ways, and then to make some decisions about long-term use and what is public safety hardened, what are the commitments that are there, and we obviously need to do a better job of taking the AT&T commitments and the Firstnet commitments from the federal government that are required from Firstnet and making sure the entire organization knows what those are. And last thing I'll say is also building out some areas because we do know there's some coverage gaps and that AT&T build out plan is addressing those, but it's going to take some more time as we plan, permit, and build those sites to add that coverage. But hopefully that answers your question more in full.
Yes, it did. Thank you, Rob.
Okay.
And that's all I have, Chair.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. And I'll just add, I had similar questions around the resiliency, durability of I guess, both the network and the devices. They're related, but maybe separate those out a little bit. On the device front, I'm curious if we've done any field tests, I don't know if it's an OtterBox or whatever you want to put on the phone. If we sort of tested the durability of those out in the field?
Oh, we have. So the OtterBoxes and there's a Pelican case are the two standards on those devices, and they're holding up, generally speaking, well. I think Andy would be the first to note is they are not built to the same spec as the radios that are on the belts of officers and in the apparatus of firefighters, because those things do get beat up a lot.
Yeah.
But they are commercial, and our strategy there is to have more of them and replace them quickly, but they also move with technology faster. Does that answer the question on point, though?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. And then just on the network resiliency, I mean, I think the mayor asked the right questions. I'd just ask Abby if there's a way. I think we'd probably all be interested in the answers to those questions. I did not realize they were separate towers, is what you said. So that's interesting, and really interested in kind of what the storage or other kind of backup solutions are. So I don't know if that's for an information memo or just a future status report to this committee, but I just wanted to echo that I think there'd probably be interest across the committee at least. With that, unless I don't see any other hands, may I have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
Great, let's vote.
Jones,
Aye.
Liccardo,
Aye.
Cohen,
Aye.
and Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to item 2, which is the Development Services Transformation Status Report.
Thank you, Chair. So for this presentation on the status report, the team will be reviewing the advancements made to help drive our development services processes to digital during the pandemic, as well as to share the horizon of work for your input. As I think you know, Alex Powell, who will be kicking us off and leading the presentation with, I think Chris is going to do the intro comments.
Great, thanks, Rob. Mayor, Chair Mahan, members of the committee, Chris Burton, Director of Planning, Building, Code Enforcement. As Rob noted, I'm joined by Alex Powell from my team, who's going to join me in giving this presentation. as well as Chu Chang and Lisa Joyner from Building. We have Chief Williams and Chief Belton from Fire, as well as Matt Lesh from Public Works, which make up the core of our development services partners. And then obviously we're joined by our partners in IT, which include Rob, as well as Jerry Dreisen and Anne-Marie Brand, and then Rosalind from the CMO, who keeps an eye on us all as well. So, so let's dive into the presentation, Alex. So you want to hop to the next slide? So just a little background, just to get us going. So obviously, the Development Services Transformation Project is part of the bigger process improvements work that started back in 2016 as part of the Management Partners report. It started out as our integrated permitting system upgrade back at that time, and it really continues to be a cornerstone for that work. And that's been especially important over the last 18 months through the pandemic, as this work's really sort of brought many of the priorities for our improvements into focus. You know, we really see this effort as a total transformation across people, process, and technology, and we really take that approach as a team looking at it. Next slide, please, Alex. So although it started back in 2016, beginning in December of 2018, we really undertook a new approach with the process by instilling an OKR basis for our work, so objectives and measured by key results. I know you're all aware of and have seen much of the other work through the city following this approach. We're really using it as the framework for our planning and prioritization from a sort of 12 to 18 month period. And what you'll see is the sort of first two objectives are really focused on solving pain points for our external customers. So obviously simple self-service digital experience, so how the customers are coming into our process, and then a clear, consistent, and effective process, which I know is absolutely a priority for us all. And then the last two really focus on improving the experience for our internal team, for our employees. And that's really focused on building a strong collaborating team, and then creating great internal tools that enable that teamwork and make us more efficient. So we're really using these objectives to guide our work as we move forward. We're going to revisit these a little later in the presentation as we think about how we move forward and where we're really trying to make an impact with this work. But if you can go to the next slide, Alex, just to kind of give you a glimpse of how we're using that. This is just an example. Don't dwell too much on what's on here, but this is a template of what our exec team debates and decides on each quarter to really center the team's work so we can focus on execution. So just to give you that insight, our transformation team is meeting daily for a stand-up. They do bi-weekly sprint and planning retrospectives. And then the exec team meets monthly to track where we're at with those key results. And then, as I said, on a quarterly basis, we're assessing priorities within that. So the last time this topic was presented to Smart Cities, you know, there have actually been 4 more sets of key results, so we've moved on quite a way. So instead of diving through each one of those, we're going to pull back to focus on the bigger picture and some of those bigger picture projects that are key to the work that we're doing. And so to do that, we're going to do a high-level review of our process, where it was, where it is today, and where we're aiming to go next. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Alex to run you through the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Chris. Chair, committee members, members of the public. My name is Alex Powell, Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, and Product Owner for the Development Service Transformation. So as Chris mentioned, as opposed to trying to go through 5 sets of objectives and key results, we're going to do a higher level sort of review of our process, what the historical operations have been, what our current operations are, given in sort of a hybrid between where we've been and where we're hoping to go in the desired future. So we'll revisit this slide in a few slides, actually a few times in this presentation, to go through the 3 main phases of the development services process. You see on the left-hand side through intake to plan review and permit issuance, and finally through inspections. So we use this as a way to sort of baseline the story of what we're transforming and what we have transformed and what we hope to transform in the future. So we'll talk about this, and this will, again, this background will be a bit of a pre-pandemic sort of view, and then we'll talk about on the next slide what has been an impact of the COVID-19 pandemic for our operations and how we've used technology to sort of mitigate those impacts. So first, if we think historically, again, going back to 2019. Our intake process was traditional, with customers traveling to City Hall, queuing in the permit center using a ticketing machine, and waiting to meet with a staff member to hand paper applications to our permit specialists so that they could create their permit records in our integrated permitting system. After a successful intake process, the plans would be routed out to the plan review team, where they'd be marked up in paper. Those plans would be reviewed, would be scanned, would be sent back to the applicant, emails would go back and forth, or potentially an applicant could actually come by and pick up the paper plans. After the review was completed successfully and after all needed revisions, the applicant would have to come back to City Hall for picking up the permit in person. And we would make sure that all processes and all fees were paid prior to the permit issuance. And then finally, following construction at the project site, our inspectors would go from City Hall to pick up inspection slips, paper inspection slips, out into the field to handwrite their inspection notes, bring those back into City Hall, have them scanned, have them or processed and then scanned, and then uploaded for the customer to access. And so this provides just a brief background of sort of what our operations have been. On the next slide, we'll go over what is our current operations. We'll go through these 5 high-level steps. And again, this is a dramatic simplification of our operations. But we'll go through these 5-level steps, looking at them of what technology we have implemented. And we'll measure that against, for right now, where we hope to be in the future. And you'll see that in the top right-hand corner of each of these process boxes. You'll see a little sort of pie chart circle measuring the progress towards that end result that we would like to have measured in yellow. So a more yellow pie would be closer towards that end goal, where a less or a quarter of a pie would be less towards that end goal. So I'll go through each of these process steps, starting with the first one, the application submittal process. This process step has probably been the most impacted from COVID because it originally required the greatest interaction with in-person interaction with our customers, being in person. Quickly, in the early days of the pandemic, the development service partners, similar to many jurisdictions throughout the country, quickly transitioned to email for maintaining a queue for their applicants and for processing that queue. But quickly that became overrun. It was hard for applicants to understand where they were at in their process, when they were going to receive service. And oftentimes they would reply back and back over and over again to the same email thread, creating confusion about where customers were at in their process and what order they have arrived. So today, we'll talk a bit more about the application system, or the appointment system setup today. But today, applicants are now setting up appointments online for a guaranteed spot where they can actually meet with a permit specialist. They'll be providing their application materials either through email or through uploading through a secure file transfer website, city website. Then applicants will actually go through 2 different tracks. And this is a hybrid of where we're at today and where we hope to be. For our public works, some of our planning, and our fire permits, applicants will actually move through steps 2 and 3, which uses our SJE plans, plan review, submission and review software. But then for the building division and for some of our planning division, they'll actually continue to what was our traditional process, submitting their plans, again, through the application submittal process, and having them reviewed through various means, having email comments back and forth and iterating on that process. So I'll go through just in a bit more detail of steps 2 and 3. Of course, after a successful intake of their application, generally through email, a project will be created in SJE plans for our customers to submit their plans. Next, they'll go into the review process where our staff can actually make markups into the plans, provide comments, and iterate with the applicant in a shared platform. And we contrast that to step number 4, which again isn't integrated. The plans have to be triaged manually, meaning emails to staff members or putting them into shared drives, and comments are sent individually to applicants or different members of the applicant team. A bit of a disjointed process and different from steps 2 and 3. Upon the completion of steps 3 and 4, the review has been completed successfully. They all move into the digital inspection form process. This inspection is similar to what happened before with inspectors out in the field. But we have now, with the digital inspection forms, have removed the need for inspectors to come into City Hall to pick up their inspection slips, to fill them out by hand. They actually now can use their devices or tablets in the field to actually input their inspection notes, and they automatically get uploaded into our integrated permitting system for public posting. Where it took probably 2 to 5 days for inspection notices to get posted to the public, this has now actually been reduced down to no more than 2 hours. And has saved significant inspector time from having to pick up and drop off paper inspection forms. This was part of the update that we provided at the Smart Cities Committee back in 2020. But since that update with the initial building team using the digital inspection forms, the fire inspection team has started using this, the digital inspection forms in March 2021. And experienced similar benefits of time savings and also reduction in use of paper. So we'll revisit this slide or this template for this slide as we go through the three main phases and talk about the desired future. But before we get there, we'll walk through the three main IT systems or technologies that we're using as part of this process and the status update that we've, the progress on these three IT projects over the last year. So first, we'll talk about the Permit Center appointments. And again, this is for applicants to go online, book their own appointment time, and meet with a permit specialist to process their applications. In March 2021, we launched the initial phase of this, and this was limited only to the building division. This was limited to, or is targeted towards 4 different service types: AU submittals, over-the-counter, plan review, and simple projects. Following the first phase, the team started to prepare for a reopening of City Hall and really what became part of phase 2, both in-person services and new virtual services for our partners. So on August 2nd, the Permit Center reopened successfully with not just in-person services for the development service partners and of course finance also located in the Permit Center, but also virtual services for fire, planning, and public works to help accommodate customers that would prefer to meet virtually as opposed to in person. So since the launch of both of phase 1 and phase 2, we've been able to hold over 6,000 virtual appointments with customers and have served nearly 2,000 customers in the Permit Center. We'll now move on to the next technology for SJE plans, our electronic plan review and submittal tool. On this slide, I'll talk about the operational impacts from this tool, providing a brief overview of what it does. Then we'll talk about the sort of the day in the life of SJE plans, what is actually happening. And then we'll go into what the quantitative, both outputs as well as the impact of this work. So we'll be covering sort of the impacts in yellow and the outputs really in gray. So first, starting with the operational impacts, there's really 4 major benefits of this system, of course, that I touched on before. Digital applications submission for our customers directly into a project that they can see, log into, and check on the status. Second is the plan processing and triage. We no longer need to process and move those plans to the individual reviewers who need it. They're automatically notified when a plan is submitted, and they're able to track that project without that email communication. The third is the digital plan review and markup. Oftentimes these markups were happening in various ways, different softwares being used, and the plans were marked up using different softwares. Today, it's all in one place. All the markups from the different reviewers, whether it be fire or DOT or public works on a single project, all happen in one place for the applicant to see in a single location. Similarly, comments, maybe not on the plans, but generically applied to all of the plans, also are coordinated in one location and not tracked in 3, 4, 5 different emails. And so trying to get a sense of what does that mean and what was really the output of this work, we picked a random day in October, Tuesday, October 5th, to really measure what's really happening and think about and compare this to what happened before. So on an average day, we had on October 5th, we had 404 files that were actually uploaded into the software. Again, these were files that would previously had been manually triaged by staff. We had staff members add 178 markups on these plans or plans that were submitted prior. 124 comments that were responded to, and then 1,363 emails sent. That number may be a bit high because as you can send one email to 5 individuals at one time, the system sends 5 different ones, just as the nature of the way it works. So looking at all these, again, these are all manual before, and I think gives a little bit of an insight of just an average day of what the system is actually doing for us that previously we had to manually work on. So finally, looking on the right-hand side of the slide, really what has happened in this system since we've launched it. And again, the launch of Public Works and Planning happened in August, Fire just recently in March. Public Works has processed over 3,000 applications, Planning 156, and Fire already at 843. And while Planning hasn't actually had a lot that has actually made it through their entire process, given environmental review and the long process timelines associated with that, Public Works and Fire have actually started to see some immediate impact to the adoption of the software. The administrative tasks longer and necessary have likely reduced the time to permit issuance. For Public Works, down 15%, measured in days, and for fire prevention, down 29%. Now, we don't want to attribute everything to this new software, as those teams have done other process improvements during this time. but comparing to the year plus before, they've started to see benefits from this software. So now we'll move on to SJ Permits, our public. And again, this is a multi-phase project. The first phase was really updating the platform to be a new modern interface for our customers. That new interface really relied on the same existing features that were there before that we'd like to review before we're jumping into those new improvements. So we'll first review the 5 major existing features of SJ Permits, that the customers can self-administer the building permits. They can schedule and pay for building inspections. They can pay for any type of permit fees. They can search for permit status information and documents. And finally, they can actually self-certify for the code enforcement residential occupancy program. We'll do a deeper dive of the self-administered building permits and talk about sort of how that works. On an earlier slide, we talked about what the typical process are for our permit applications, but for self-administered permits, they actually follow a pretty simple 5-step process that enable them to get a permit in about 15 minutes. So first, customers, all they need to do is create an account on SJ Permits. They select the permit type and complete the forms associated with it, agree to the permit terms and conditions, pay for their permit online, and they're able to receive a printout or a PDF of their permit or job card. This is, again, in contrast to setting up an appointment and meeting with us, having us set up the application for them. A huge time savings for staff and, of course, for customers, gives them complete ability in the digital tools to do things themselves. And so one of the major improvements that the team has made to SJ Permits over the past year, a little over a year, has been the introduction of new permit types onto SJ Permits. So since September 2020, we've actually introduced 8 new permit types for customers to apply for permits online. And this has added to the existing list that were already there. So now we have a total of 54 permits that are available for self-administration. As you can see across the 8 types, there's been thousands of permits that have now been used through SJ Permits that previously customers would book an appointment for, take up staff time to use. And now our estimate is that we are saving approximately 1,500 hours of staff time each year that enable them to save those scarce appointments that we have for customers who really need it, and to allow our staff to focus on the applications that really require their expertise. So finally, for SJ Permits, again, we talked about the new platform that we've actually that we built and we've rolled out. But that's happened in multi-stage process. First, going in November 2020, when we did a soft launch of the new portal, or what we call SJ Permits 2.0. Our customers started the process of transitioning their accounts from the old to the new portal, really due to the fact our old portal was based on a username system as opposed to an email-based system that most systems are familiar with. We did that transition for about a period of 6 months to April 2021, when the full transition or hard cutover of the new portal took place. And this relates to the diagram that you see on the right. This measures, or the diagram on the right shows all the building permits that have been issued over the past couple of years, measured by those that are issued online in yellow, and then those issued manually by staff in gray. Obviously, you see a big dip in the middle of this graph due to the COVID-19 shelter-in-place health orders. But really what we've seen since we emerged from April 2020 is actually an increase in the demand of our online permits. But you also will notice that in November, and probably a little bit due to the holidays, but also the new portal, there was actually a dip in the demand or application for online permits. But that has actually since rebounded in May and June, where we expect that customers have actually started getting used to the new portal. And in June 2020, we actually hit a new all-time high for our permits that are issued online, nearly 1,900 in a single month, and getting close to that record mark in the months following that. So finally, we'll go back to this desired future operation diagram to talk about where those technologies fit into our longer-term customer digital journey map. So we'll go through the 5 steps, and the really big change that is on this slide as opposed to the previous one for our current operations is moving where the intake appointment takes place, giving the digital tools to our customers up front so that they can actually start their process and can meet with us for those complex applications that are necessary. So in step 1, allowing SJ Permits to actually allow customers to start their applications for a much broader variety of permit types, not just those that they can self-administer online, but those that they can create. And then it will create an SJ ePlans project that they can upload their plans into, getting through both those stages without actually ever needing to meet with a development service staff member. For complex applications, we'll oftentimes still require an intake appointment. We want to make sure that their application was filled in correctly, their fees are correct, and they're not paying anything incorrectly. But for many customers, they actually be able to proceed directly into the review process over into step 4. In that review, again, similar benefits of the SJE plans platform, sharing comments and the markups in a single platform, and then finally ending with a digital inspections form. And this sort of maps to what we how we expect or would like our software, our customers to move through these different technologies. We'll now sort of close on these three major projects and where we're at, talk about what the expected impact are against those 4 objectives that Chris mentioned earlier. I'll cover a little bit of what the status is, a recap of that, and then talk about the next steps and what we expect the timeline are for these. The 3 projects, of course, that I'll cover is SJ Permits what we're calling version 2.1, which is that ability for applicants to start their applications online. The second project will be SJE plans, and particularly expanding it to the building division. And then finally, the Permit Center appointments, and trying to innovate and tweak that model to a rapid intake model that allows more flexibility for our customers and our staff to process applications quicker. So first, SJ Permits 2.1, with the ability to start applications online. This is the main objective of a digital customer experience. We measure these impacts across 4 different, we measure these impacts, again, sort of in green to be significant, in light green to be a moderate impact, yellow to be a small impact, or red to be a negative impact, something to be aware of and maybe to mitigate. For SJ Permits, the biggest impact, of course, is around the digital customer experience, that they have the ability to submit their application online and really own and control the process from the very beginning. We do expect some improvements to the clear process as well, but we also expect that there will actually be some diminishment. There will be an impact towards the internal operations of our team. With applicants having the ability to start and create and to process their own applications online, it's going to require slightly more work for our staff to actually manage and make sure that they're doing it correctly. This isn't a fatal issue with this software, but rather a risk that we want to be aware of and be prepared for during and through the rollout. Currently, this product is being developed by our vendor, and we're expecting development to be completed in late January 2022. We're already doing some of the testing, but final user acceptance testing will be completed in February, where then after we'll start some of the deployment and rollout activities to make sure that our customers have the tools, the guides, demonstration videos to be successful in using this product, and our staff will help them. The second project, of course, is SJE plans, particularly rolling it out for the building division. Similar benefits for all of the objectives, both the 2 external and the 2 internal objectives. But recognizing that that in addition to giving customers greater tools and abilities for their doing more applications through SJ Permits, that we also are going to have more divisions and departments using SJE plans for processing their applications. So the collaborative team is actually a smaller impact, and this is a recognition of the lift that will be required for rolling it out successfully to the entire team. To enable this integration with this new tool, again, to make sure that the integration between our current permitting system and SJE plans is successful, we are currently modifying our Amanda permitting system and expect that to be completed in January 2022. We'll complete the configuration of SJE plans sometime in the summer of 2022, with launching the building version of the SJE plans in fall 2022. And finally, for the permit center appointments for the rapid intakes, we're currently in development and ready to do a soft rollout of this later this month, with the expectation of a full rollout in mid-November, and for customers to start their rapid intake by the end of this month, but whereby giving our applicants the ability to upload or drop off plans digitally and queuing them in a way so our staff can actually process them without having to meet with the customer, so we can do the intake as seamlessly as possible. And so this review is really the 3 main technologies that the development service partners are focused on the next year that help get our customers closer to that future digital roadmap for them. So that concludes staff's presentation. We are available for any questions.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Alex. Very impressive presentation. A lot of content there. Really appreciate it. Well done. Okay, I'm looking over to public comment. It does not appear that we have any, so we will stay with the committee. I think it's especially exciting to see that estimated staff time savings. I think that's to just see that we're able to deploy technology to better use our own staff time is especially exciting. I see that my colleague, Councilor Cohen, has his hand up, so we'll
Hey, Chair, Actually, there is a hand
Oh,
raised.
a hand came in. Okay, I'm sorry. Apologies. Let's go over to public comment, and we'll come back to you, Councilmember Cohen. Okay, call in user 1.
I appreciate the presentation, and it's got to be a thankless job working in code enforcement and all these things. It's headaches every day, I'm sure. But everything was explained rather well, but I kind of have an issue with calling a resident or a taxpayer a customer, because that would mean the city of San Jose is a business. I don't know if that's the vernacular that you use with people, and that's fine, but I find it a bit odd. You know, I would say resident, business owner, taxpayer, you know, and I mean, these fees and the complications are very high. I mean, you know, the customer service, if you will, sometimes isn't always there. It's gotten better because you guys have done good work with using computers and whatnot. And, you know, with the pandemic, things have been streamlined, it seems like. But my question is you know, because we're always sensitive here in San Jose about pronoun usage and everything else. I'm a little bit sensitive to how am I a customer when I go down and pay a fee, right? And I don't take it personally, but I just find it a little bit odd. And I'd like an answer of why, as a resident, we're considered customers. That's the question that I would like answered, if you can. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to come back to the panel and go back to Councilmember Cohen.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the presentation. I'm excited that we're starting to use technology to streamline the process, try to make our process more efficient, help free up staff time to do some of the tougher, more labor-intensive things, so we can, you know, get the process more, work more people through the permitting process, I guess, is the ultimate goal. I have some questions about, obviously there's the technology side, getting this automated. There's also the question of how easily users can navigate the system. And in terms of terminology and the things that users need to know as they're trying to do permits. And obviously, if they're no longer interacting with a planner to help them walk through the process, and they're trying to do this online, what effort has been done to try to make sure that terminology and the process is fully understandable to people who will be using it?
Thank you, Councilmember. Great question. I think as we look towards our technologies, we do conflate a few different items. One, I think of the construction and building trades is really a real traditional industry, and a lot of our customers actually come from that sector. It's not necessarily a member of the public per se, but actually somebody who actually goes from, you know, those trades to needing to get a permit for, you know, a homeowner. And so I think we actually start to conflate both technology and the tech in the traditional terminology from the building trades. So for us, I think the main mechanism that we've been using has been, I think, most effective during the pandemic is really recognizing that a lot of the same conversations are happening over email or in phone calls with customers. And what we need to do is actually make those more available for them. Our historical operations were successful because of the customer service that we provided, somebody sitting across the table from us, that we can explain the terminology and we could show them the way to actually get their permits. But obviously that's been a bit limited even with technology that we have available today. So what's been really effective for us is actually starting to identify where are confusion points happening, where are questions coming in, and either creating new guides or actually what we've been really pushing is create videos. Again, if they can actually hear what we are explaining, and then we also can see it both for how to use the technology, I think it really helps customers who maybe don't understand a particular phrase. They actually see what's happening as we go through this. So I think we, at this time, have probably about a half dozen for the SJE plan software for, hey, this is how you use various, we haven't broken up into various operations of that software. And then for SJ permits, that for getting self-administered permits, we've continued to identify different types of permits that customers have had some confusion on. Maybe we don't even, and I think it's a great question you're asking, because maybe we don't understand exactly where they're getting hung up on all the time. But if we actually walk them through what the full process is, I think that has been helpful for no matter where they get hung up in that process. So I sort of joke that we keep trying to turn our staff into YouTube stars to get as many views, to get as much of the customers actually aware of how those processes work.
That's good to hear that you're thinking about that and how to give people instructions. It's kind of like the instruction guide for the site. And I understand a large number of your permit requests will come from contractors that are used to navigating this process, but there also are numbers of permit requests coming directly from residents who may not have experience navigating this process. And so I'm glad to hear that you say that you're trying to figure out where it is people get hung up, because I know that sometimes permits get stuck, and even our office will get calls from people who say, we have a permit in there, we're not sure exactly where it is and where it is in the process. Now I know you're not fully launched with your system yet, so that it's hard, you can't necessarily say it's because of the new system, but it would be good for us to try to figure out how to understand where people get stuck, what they understand, what they don't, and how to make those parts of the process more user-friendly. So is there a potential maybe to start to survey people who have used the system and find out what their experiences were, and maybe learn from them what was confusing to them and what language might need to be improved?
I think there is that opportunity. I think a lot of times we look towards customers that successfully navigated because they've obtained a permit. And again, we sort of do a lot of repeat business with a lot of customers, but actually maybe looking at those that have actually failed in that process, I think would be really helpful. I'll say too, just speaking to the application status, I will say that's actually one of the, we didn't focus on it, but one of the key results for this current quarter is actually creating a guide for customers to better understand how to find what their status of their application is. SJ permits, the public portal is available for any member of the public to go on, and actually they can see what process, what staff member is supposed to be doing the review. And so that has been one that we've heard and have actually incorporated that into our key results.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, obviously anything we can do to streamline the process for our residents, and then that will help free up the ability to streamline the process for everybody else will really make a big difference, I think. We know we've heard so many times over the years that this is one of the biggest complaints in terms of doing development and projects in San Jose. And so I'm really appreciative that we're focused on this, and hopefully we can find ways to just figure out what it is that becomes a bottleneck and always work for continuous improvement on that system. So thank you. That's all for my questions.
Thanks, Council Member. I had a few comments and questions. So first, I want to just echo Councilmember Cohen's point about user research to the extent that we can find the bandwidth to do this as you're building out the new system. I think following users through the process is essentially sitting down and shadowing them without saying a word. Don't show them what to do, but just observe. I know from my own experience developing software for about a decade that when you just kind of randomly identify users and ask if you can watch over their shoulder and they're willing, it's amazing what you can learn just in terms of what is not intuitive that seems so obvious to those of us who are in it day to day. So I really want to echo that comment about finding ways to do user research, and certainly following up with folks who have bad experiences to understand and kind of troubleshoot why. And I'll just make a couple of comments, and then obviously if staff wants to respond to any, that's fine. And then I'll get to a couple of questions. So other quick comments here. On the high level objectives, I was really glad to see those in there. I think it's slide 3 in the presentation. I did want to observe, I mean, they all feel right to me. They feel great, but I did not see the value of speed concretely called out. It's kind of hinted at, but I didn't see speed or efficiency quite as clearly called out as I would hope. And it's the reason I raise it is, in addition to confusion about where they are in the process, the biggest complaint or concern that I hear from both residents and developers, maybe especially developers for whom time is very much money, is just the speed of the process. Just shaving every day off of the process has tremendous value. So I would certainly advocate for at least considering in your objectives being even more explicit about speed of service delivery, time to decision, efficiency being a core objective of this department, of the work that's being done. And then I guess kind of related to that, I also want to comment on the next slide, which is the OKRs. I know that's just a template, it was just an example, totally get it. But even so, I think examples can be indicative. And in the example, I'm just looking at the slide now, I noticed that of the external goals, they're all basically completion goals, which makes sense. You're implementing a new system. It's mostly about just getting things done, completing steps in the process. But I want to, again, just advocate that we try to also push ourselves to have external KRs, the key results, have them reflect a measure of value from the customer's perspective. So you might reframe the completion goal of getting the videos out to some success metric tied to people using the videos and how it reduces complaints, as an example, right? I think you can take every completion goal can also be sort of translated into a mere key result related to the value to the customer and how we might get at measuring that. So I just wanted to kind of advocate for that as well. And then on the question, so in slide 8, I thought that it was good to see those green arrows. I guess the question is, can we see the time to, so I mentioned time to decision being really important, or time to outcome, I guess. Time to permit issuance, it looks like we've gotten those down a couple places. Is it possible, I think it could be very helpful to see that those numbers in terms of concrete number of days for different steps in the process, such as permit issuance, and then, or inspections, or whatever it might be, and then see that as basically over a time series. So it's great to see that it's down, but if it was up in the time period before and now it's down, then we're just back to baseline. So is it possible to, in the future, display that to this committee in a time series over the last, the trailing 12 or 24 months or something like that?
Yeah, Councilmember, Chair, sorry, my apologies. I think
it's all good. You can call me Matt, Chris. It's fine. Go ahead.
You're hitting on a really important point, and I want to sort of provide some framing around kind of the specifics of this work and kind of what it relates to some of the points that you're making. And to come up to that sort of first one around kind of where does speed exist in our objectives, right? The objectives are really focused around this development services transformation project. And it's a little misleading, right? Because the title just lends itself to, we're going to transform the entire development services process. And really what this project is about the sort of technology components that are a part of that process, right? So as far as our speed to deliver service to the customer, it's absolutely a priority. It's something that we're really trying to hone in and provide focus to. The parallel objective that sort of sits within this framework is that clear, consistent, effective process, right? Because our ability to be able to deliver quickly to our customers relies on a system that backs that up. And doesn't have us, doing inefficient processes like uploading plans and trying to figure out where stuff goes. It's an automated process. So I think that's the sort of context of this presentation, just to kind of provide that. But I think it's an important point, right? It's certainly one that myself and the exec team in PBC are really taking a hard look at right now, trying to understand how we provide that insight and that transparency around process so people can understand, as we're making these and other improvements around our process, around our service delivery, what does that translate to into results? That will be an ongoing process, but those are certainly some of those things that we're figuring out right now. I think the other thing that's really important to bear in mind is just the sort of breadth and expanse of process that we're dealing with. And we kind of touched on this a little bit through the slides, but we talk about the building permit process, but there's a whole host of different things that occur in there. We have 4 different intake lines for whether it's a residential customer that's doing self-service, whether it's major development review that's coming in for a multifamily project, or right. So there's all these different components within it. And so what we're trying to do is take an assessment of how we build those metrics around those individual processes, but that they roll up into metrics that you as council, you as the committee can understand and appreciate how these actions are really taking effect. For us, one of our sort of core principles now is to really be able to manage the process and manage the department from an informed stance, right? We're trying to get to those data points so we can make key decisions. I think you've seen that over the last few months. You know, Chu has really headed our efforts around looking at streamlined intake. You know, that comes from really looking at those individual pieces of the process and realizing that we have, you know, a challenge around the multitude of single family work that's coming in. So let's separate out those frequent flyers that are coming into the process. So we're absolutely getting there. You know, we're probably not there to come out and publish a lot of that yet, but it's certainly a core tenet that we're working to right now.
Thanks, Chris. And just in terms of being able to publish some of those timelines, I understand you have different processes. I'd advocate for just identifying one, starting with one, like what's the highest value, or what's a customer we want to focus on, and a common flow, and then sort of understanding the gates, if you will, in the process, and then understanding the average number of days, and then making our technology investments or process improvements to reduce the number of days. Is there a timeline for getting to that point where this committee could see, okay, here's one sample customer and common flow or application, right? And permit type. And then here are all the steps or stages that are discrete stages. Here's the average number of days, and here's what we're doing to reduce those. What's the timeline for getting to a place where we could actually see that in data?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to say it's in the sort of 6-month timeframe. We've made some really important early steps in that direction, especially around the intake process, trying to understand what those steps are. So what's the widget, how many widgets, how long does it take, right? And benchmarking that against average timelines over prior year and things like that. So we can really dig in on some of these issues and understand. Obviously, we're working through those different steps, right? So yeah. Again, you know, we talk about the permit process as a single continuum, and you know, it is a continuum, but it's all these different parts. So our intake process is very different to our review process. It's very different to our issuance process and our inspection process. And so, you know, we're going through each of those and trying to break down this information in different ways so we can provide that insight as to kind of how we're working around these issues.
Yeah, understood. They're discrete, so they should be measurable. I'm going to go to Rosalind, but I will just advocate for, it's good to baseline, even if the data is bad, because then we get to celebrate the win when we make these improvements. And a year from now, when things are going better, we get to show how much progress we've made, and we kind of know where we really were. So let me go to, I know their staff wants to jump in, and I promise we'll get to the mayor as well. So Rosalind, do you want to hop in?
Thank you so much, Chair Mahan. And I see Chu has his hand up, and I'm about to reference some of the work that Chu and Lisa and Alex have done. So we do have some data. It's now a bit dated, but we were pulling data last year, particularly when we had to pivot our operation. So we took some sample permits. So for example, I'm actually looking at some data on home additions and alterations. So just looking at those particular permits, we've got by month between August 2019 and July 2020, for example. We did the same thing for tenant improvement permits as well as new construction. So at least we've got some of that baseline data that we should be able to share with the committee. And I'll let you chime in.
Thank you. Maybe if I may just add something, Chairman Mahan. I think you are looking for what we used to call chess clock. We actually chess clock measuring when the customer submit, we accept, the time stop. When the plan reviewer receive, clock stop. When the plan review send the review comments out, stop. The next thing we don't have a control is when the customer return. So that's what we chess clock. Basically, we are tracking every phase of our process, how long it take on the city side, how long it take on the customer side. Yeah. I will need to double check with Alex because used to our SJ permit, each individual project, we have a chess clock there. So customer can actually see that where is their project right now? Is in the still processing or is in the plan review? The harder part we cannot track, or we can track, but is the inspection or is the construction. Because construction part we have no control, because the construction schedule is pretty much controlled by the contractor or the developer. How fast they do, we just respond when they call inspection. But we do track when the contractor call for inspection. We track how fast we can respond. That you come to, we do track, can we respond the inspection request from the day they request, 24 hours, 48 hours, or beyond. So that we also track in that. Thank you.
Thanks, that's great. And that is very much what I'm describing. I think part of the reason I'm sort of pushing on it here is that I think it would be ideal if we could design that into the systems we're building as we're upgrading our software, to the extent that it's possible to automate that reporting so that we don't have to go back and find it and find a time series somewhere, but just have dashboards set up where it's baked into the software we're building and that it's automated reporting. And we can kind of just have those dashboards automatically populate and see, okay, this particular permit flow, we've been able to cut the timeline in half. And here's the stage in the process where we got the most impact. And here's what, because we simplified the step, or we put it online, or whatever it might be. But I think obviously it seems like we're heading in a really good direction. So just, hopefully this is an additive comment. I appreciate all the great work that's being done. All right, I've gone on for a while there, and for the sake of efficiency, I will take my more tactical questions offline. But Mayor, do you want to jump in?
Oh, thanks. I just want to say thank you for the work that's being done. As I look at slide 7, I just want to offer that's a very refreshing view to see how we're really taking a strategic approach and being very clear about in our metrics how we're reducing delay to the customer in those 2 measures that are depicted on the right side of that slide. I think it's on Public Works and Fire, I might be mistaken. In any event, I'm sorry, yeah, it was Public Works and Fire. I very much agree with the sentiment of our chair just about, it really seems to me the most important metric, the most important outcome rather, that we should be focused on is that issue of delay, because that is what's ultimately the big source of frustration to any and all customers in any city in the country. And I know we're no exception. And I appreciate that this work is being done at a time when we're mightily challenged right now in terms of human resources and staffing. I know there've been some challenges with loss of staffing, particularly in planning side. So I'm mindful of that. I do think just want to double down on a few things that Chair Mahan said about, there is value, even if the information or the data is not pretty, to putting it out there early and demonstrating progress. I think we all understand that we've got dirty laundry by virtue of the fact that we're simply understaffed. And we've got a huge volume of requests coming in that we're not able to satisfy as we would if we were better staffed. But I think we just need to understand it and understand how big the gaps are and how we can improve and understand where those improvements are happening. I had a couple questions about follow-up on Councilmember Cohen's questions with regard to, I appreciate there's increasingly transparency to the users, to the customers in terms of understanding where their application might be in the process. I assume that means specifically they could know who to call, they would know whose desk the application's sitting on, so to speak. Is that fair to say they could get that through the online portal?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for the question. If you go onto our SJ Permits portal, you look by address, find an active permit. It lists the individual processes. It lists the, what happened, comments were sent back, or, you were successful, and you would see the user's name, the staff member's name, and their email address.
Okay, that's great. And are we able then to sort of take all the data that we've got and aggregate it in a meaningful way that helps managers understand, sort of where are the pain points in the process, or maybe where are the staff, which staff maybe need a little more training in one area or another to improve our process? Is that something that's readily doable?
Yeah, Matt, I think that's a really important question and one that we're definitely asking ourselves right now. I'm not sure that it's as readily available as it needs to be. So it's something we're sort of working to really understand. I think the question around what metrics are relevant, how we measure, what we measure is really the key. And so far, a lot of our reporting really just focuses on, the aggregate of the process. So to your point, what we're trying to do is understand a little bit more of that kind of finite data on a work team perspective so that we can make those informed decisions around, either it's a process change, there's additional work we need to do with different staff members, or we just need to reconfigure or rethink the workflow. So I think it's the right question. I don't think we're there yet. It's something we're definitely working on.
Okay. And then finally, I just want to offer a suggestion of sorts, and maybe a potential solution if it works for you guys. I really agree with that notion. I think both Councilmembers Cohen and Mahan mentioned about paying attention to user experience and quietly sitting there while someone is trying to navigate the system and see if they're able to navigate it. Where are they getting stuck? Where aren't they? And I know we don't have a lot of planning staff or building staff to sit around and do that. But the Mayor's Office of Technology Innovation, we work with a lot of universities, San Jose State, Stanford, and others, Santa Clara, and undoubtedly, this is something where we could deploy young people who are pretty savvy in this stuff, and maybe they're business students, maybe they're process management students, whatever they might be, who may be very, very interested in participating in a project like this and really doing the data collection for us and providing good reports to the extent. I know that ordinarily costs a lot of money with consultants, but I think we could probably do it using some really smart university students. So anyway, I just throw that out there. I'd be happy to volunteer our team to sort of manage that effort to see how we could help with the user experience study.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mayor. And, I think that's definitely something we'll want to follow up with you on. Also sort of look into that as an opportunity to maybe develop our pipeline for future employees as well. So any connect there is always good.
Great, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. And may we have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks. Let's vote.
Jones,
Aye.
Liccardo, Cohen,
Aye.
and Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're on to item 3, which is our final item on the agenda today. It's the Housing Department Technology Status Report.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, one area of the city that has accelerated in demands and initiatives over the course of COVID has been our housing team. The community's needs are clearer than ever in this area. Item D3, as you noted, is a coverage of what the Housing Department has been doing to use technology more broadly, more deeply, and in partnership with other agencies. Rachel Vanderveen and Drew Hamadi, please lead us into our final item of the day.
Well, good afternoon, committee chair and members of the committee. My name is Rachel Vanderveen, and I have today with me Drew Hamadi, our products projects manager from the Information Technology Department, and Freshta Zachary, the Information Systems Analyst from the Housing Department. Today, I'm pleased to share with you our status report on 3 technology initiatives from the Housing Department. So we first wanted to start with establishing a housing technology mission to tie into the smart city overall vision. It's intended to utilize data and technology to continuously improve and provide effective services to the public. We also want to serve the diverse backgrounds of renters, owners, and affordable housing providers. Next slide. As a part of our housing technology mission, there are 3 guiding principles that we keep in mind. The first is utilizing technology to make housing information and looking for housing more accessible. Next, we want to be thinking about using data to make decisions. And lastly, we want to think about regional partnerships and working together with other jurisdictions to build out platforms. Next slide. There are 3 initiatives that we're excited to share with you today. The first is the Rent Registry. The Rent Registry is the purpose of it is to be able to track trends and rent data from our rent stabilized apartments. Most recently, during the moratorium on rent increases enacted in May 2020 as a response to the pandemic, we were able to use the data from the Rent Registry to identify rent increases made advertently in violation of the moratorium. We used the system to contact landlords and provide a response from impacted tenants for ineligible rent increases that were given. Furthermore, using this system, we were able to learn trends that many landlords were actually not increasing rents for tenants living in rent stabilized units, but rather had decreased rents in many cases. For the Doorway Affordable Housing Portal, we were able to help people who are seeking affordable housing, help their experience be easier. Our goal is to build a regional platform and simplify.
Rachel, I'm sorry, could we ask everyone to mute themselves, please? We're getting some feedback. Thank you.
So our goal is to build a regional platform and simplify the process to help affordable housing providers and seekers automate applications. The third initiative is the Housing Loan Management System. This system has been used by our entire team since 2009, but it has been refreshed in order to develop more workflow and quality of our data for loan management. In the end, this upgrade will help us maintain the 20,000 affordable homes that we've created within San Jose, ensuring stable housing for our community. So at this time, I will now turn the presentation over to Freshta.
Hello. Hello, committee chair, members of committee, and honorable mayor. My name is Firstnet Zachary, and I'm the technical lead for Rent Registry portal and other internal technology in housing department. Rent Registry is managed by Rent Stabilization Program. It is an annual registration for rent stabilized apartments with 3 units or more built before 1979. There are approximately 38,000 rent stabilized units, and using this data, the Rent Stabilization Program can have the most accurate picture of a given rental market. Through this program, we can monitor changes in tenancy and track rent increases, as well as understand apartment amenities. Next slide, please. The Rent Registry system has been developed 3 years ago. And in this new version of the system, we're offering 3 services through this main portal. The main portal actually is the owner portal, which allows the property owners to log in directly and register or update the tenancy of their rent control units. Tenant portal, which has been developed, is an upcoming initiative for year 2022 for tenants to verify rents in their rent stabilized unit. Another portal is the notice of termination, which tracks notice of termination submitted by property owners. On average, there are 10,000 notices submitted annually since 2017, with a 95 to 98% of on average for non-payment of rents. Next slide, please. One of the biggest enhancements for the Rent Registry portal for this period was adding the concept of no change registration. This new functionality allowed the landlords to quickly register their units. What we found during the 2020 registration year was that there were not a lot of changes in the rent tenancy during the pandemic. Having the no change button allowed landlords to register their units with a quick click of a button without going through a complete registration screen. We're excited to report that almost 61% of all registrations are done through this new feature. Next slide, please. Another enhancement in this version was adding a select all button on the rent upload module. This helped our landlords and property managers of large complexes to quickly make selections and update to the rent registry through a couple of guided screens by downloading and populating existing data into an Excel, then validating the data entered by landlords for accuracy, and ultimately providing clear error messages for fixing the data. Through this approach, owners of large complexes could easily register multiple units in a short time. With that, I will now turn it into Drew.
Hello, Committee Chair. Members of,
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, Committee Chair, members of the committee, and Mayor. My name is Drew Famati, a Projects Manager from the IT department. So really, after making these functionality updates, the team has been tracking landlord feedback through online surveys upon registration. One Rent Registry landlord shared their perspective, and you know that the annual update this year was really simple and a breeze. It is the Housing Department's goal to continue developing and improving the Rent Registry to increase its user friendliness for future data collection. So as you look at the trends since the initial registration period in 2018, we're excited to share that there has been an increasing trend in registrations in the first 30 days. From the first registration period to the most recent, there was more than a 1,000% increase in initial registrations during the first 30 days. You know, and really most of this credit can be attributed to the ease and use of functionality of the registry, and through education, outreach, online webinars, and external communications, the rent stabilization program has been able to engage more with landlords and property owners. Now I'll move on to Doorway. Doorway is an online portal we are jointly building with San Mateo County to simplify the application process for affordable housing for our residents. Really, the two key components are the applicant portal, which allows prospective tenants to both view affordable listings, as well as submit a common application to multiple openings, as well as the partners portal, which allows property managers and affordable housing developers to easily post listings and process applications. The applicant portal will be available for residents to use in December of this year. So when going to the Doorway website in December, our residents will specifically be able to submit digital applications online, as opposed to having to go through to openings and individually submit paper-based applications. In addition, they will be able to view openings in other languages if English is not their primary language, create an account in order to see a history of previous applications, and save key information for the future, as well as access lottery results, which really ensures transparency throughout the entire process. So since kicking off this engagement this past April with San Mateo County, we've identified key stakeholders, formed a steering committee, which includes various property managers and developers. We've conducted extensive user research to identify applicant and partner pain points. We've also finalized information required for common applications, as well as recently moved to the same regional server as San Mateo County, Alameda County, and the City and County of San Francisco. So moving our San Jose portal to the same regional server as other jurisdictions has really a couple of key benefits. First, it allows the city to share maintenance and support costs with other jurisdictions, which really results in significant savings for the city in the long run compared to maintaining our own server. In addition, it positions Doorway as a one-stop shop for affordable housing in the entire broader Bay Area. So once released, we really plan to measure the impact that the applicant portal has in various ways, including how often searches and applications are taking place digitally as opposed to via paper, the number of applications completed that are non-English, as well as how many trip miles are saved as a result of being able to submit digital applications. So moving on to the Housing Loan Management System, or HOLMS, it's really an internal database that is used by the Housing Department to lend city funds to affordable housing developers in order to create more affordable housing in our community. Through HOLMS, we are able to enter and track key information about production and preservation. We're able to process loans to developers. And finally, we're able to generate reports on overall affordable housing production data and trends. So there were really a few challenges that the department faced using HOLMS prior to our latest upgrade. Really the most significant that I want to highlight was that different teams would really step on each other's toes through the data entry process by entering and overwriting data in fields they shouldn't touch, leading to suboptimal data quality. In addition, there was no clearly established data entry process and business process flow, as well as a lack of an alignment on where handoffs between different teams take place. Finally, HOLMS was built on an old version of Salesforce, which was at risk of being removed from the platform in the near future. I will turn it back to Fireshta.
In the year 2009, Housing Department invested on top of the technology developed to develop the first loan portfolio management system for the department to keep track of all loans provided to affordable housing developers. While the initial system was robust enough for tracking our loans, but the technology behind it had been drastically evolved through the years. To address many of the pain points mentioned earlier, we needed to upgrade the system. Next slide, please. The new system upgrade not only is a return of investment in technology for the department, but also has a simple, intuitive, user-friendly interface, which offers advanced features to resolve many of the issues of the old system by streamlining the data entry process through the new process flow. This upgrade also offers new types of visualization and analytic tools. Through this advanced system, the staff of different teams now can track affordable housing properties, revenue versus expenditure, so the department can do a better job of predicting and obtaining payments on our loans that we use to help fund staff and or new affordable projects. But now I will turn it to Rachel.
I wanted to take a moment to highlight the teams that have all come together to make these initiatives happen. First, I want to recognize Drew, Dave, and Fireshta for taking the lead on implementing these projects. Their expertise and dedication extends beyond expectation and is key to the success of all of these three projects. I also want to recognize the strong project management skills for Monica on the rent stabilization team and the entire staff for their work supporting users of the Rent Registry system. Kemet has worked hard to coordinate efforts made by the Residential Development Division to remain focused on the upgrades to the loan management system. And of course, support from our vendors, MK Partners, and Exigy. And finally, we're excited to build relationships with the San Mateo County team supporting our regional approach to the doorway system. Next slide. So that concludes our presentation today, and we are available for any questions and feedback that you might have.
Great, thanks so much. Thanks, Rachel, Fireshta, and Daru for the status report. Really appreciate it. Congrats on the progress. Let me see if we have any public comment. I'm not seeing any. Okay, we'll give that another second. Anyone on the committee? Okay, Vice Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say to the Housing Department how impressed I am in terms of the progress that we've made in terms of the registry. I remember those contentious council meetings and conversations and all the resistance that we were getting from the landlords about the registry. And it's good to see those testimonials I haven't received any complaints about the registry. And so, I just felt like, the housing department did an outstanding job of rolling that out, getting people onboarded, kind of answering questions, addressing concerns. And now we're at the point where we are now. So I want to say kudos to you and the whole department for executing on that program. As far as the portal is concerned, I actually made a presentation to the Cities Association advocating, and Rachel, I know that you had your input on that as well, advocating for the other cities in the county to participate in that portal. And my question to you is, some of the cities in the county are using a different portal or different technology, home keys. And I just want to ask, is there any way for us to integrate the two different platforms or technologies, or do they have to migrate over from what they're currently using to our platform that we're using?
So thank you for the question, council member. I think that I think we need to just take a close look at the technology and understand how it's set up and how it might possibly relate to the doorway system. I don't think at this point that we've done a real matchup between the two technologies to understand the differences. So that is something that we can look at. And we also just want to work with the other jurisdictions to understand, how they're thinking about it, how they're making decisions, and ultimately how we can all move forward in the same direction.
Okay, well, I look forward to working with you closely to figure out the roadmap of how we can make that happen.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for the outstanding work that you guys have been doing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Mayor?
Hey, thank you. And thanks for all the work, and particularly in getting these two really important systems up and running, the Rent Registry and the Affordable Housing Portal. Question I guess I had first about the Rent Registry. I think I gathered from that chart that we've so far had a little more than 12,000 of the units registered. Is that right? So 12,100 something?
I just want to clarify. So that data point is within the first 30 days. So what we were trying to do was show you that within the first 30 days for each round, we've just gotten much more participation. So at this point, as of the last day or two, we've been over 70% registered already, but we just hit 60 days. And so that number just has continued to climb.
So we're about, that was kind of where I was going, Rachel, you anticipate. So we're about 70% registered, and those are basically all the units that are rent controlled.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have about 38,000 total.
Okay. Okay, great. And is there anything we can surmise about the 30% that haven't registered? Are they, I mean, we've already excluded mom and pops, right? The 1 and 2, I'm trying to remember, the 1 and 2 units, are they outside the registry or are they in? I can't remember.
So it starts at 3 units or more.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So, do you want me to respond or you have more?
Yeah, I'm interested in your thoughts. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for the 30% to go, what we have found is that, there's just different behaviors. And in our first round, we were actually able to get into the 90% of registered. So, but how we got there, first we have our compliant folks, right? So for the first 60 days, we say, this is our registration period, come register. It's just like an open invitation. And this time around, that actually achieved over 70% participation, which we're very happy with. So the next round is a warning letter, right? So the next time we say, hey, you haven't registered, you need to register. Now you have till, another, 30 days or something. And then otherwise we're going to basically assess a penalty. And so then we get more people to participate. And then we've just progressively worked down that road, and we have found that people respond. So,
okay, and so you said we're relatively early in this particular cycle, right?
Mhm.
To 70%. We should expect to get somewhere north of 90, you think?
That would be amazing.
Okay. We're not likely to get there. Okay.
I
What do we
think
do about the
it
rest?
could happen. We just need to continue to track them. I mean, there's things that happen, like, for example, there could be a sale where it's a new owner and they just don't know, and we have to find them.
Yeah.
There's I mean, it's just a whole lot of working with them. But again, I would say that after our threatening letters, we've been able to see strong response, and so we'll continue to do that.
Okay. We haven't issued fines yet, I assume.
Correct. But
Okay.
we can.
We're
And
hoping to
so-
prod people along.
Yeah.
And then of that universe of people that have responded, I mean landlords essentially, right? What percentage have we really had verification from tenants who, I know we offer this tenant verification. I'm kind of interested in what extent we're able to actually check.
Right. So this year, we're going to be launching our tenant portal.
Okay.
And so we have built it. Yeah, the team has worked very hard to have it ready. It's been tested and it's ready to go. So we're expecting to launch that in January.
Okay, so we'll know more then.
Yeah.
And do we have any penalty for fudging?
Well, we have in place an administrative citation process, which has a whole list of different violations that we can actually assess penalties for. So yeah, if there's, we would reach out, right? Is it, oh, I'm sorry, it was just a misunderstanding or whatever. But sometimes it doesn't take long to figure out that, oh, well, what does the rental agreement say? Oh, well, that's a different number than what I actually pay. And this is enough. I mean, there can be just really interesting kind of stories.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely dig into that. And we have used the Rent Registry to identify problems like that already.
Right.
So we'll have conversations, find out what it is. And if it does look like it's fraudulent, then we can assess a penalty.
Okay, well, I know that's ultimately what we're getting. I was trying to make sure that folks are following the law. And I know that just the mere fact of, as in science, the mere act of observation changes the thing that is observed. And so it's good that people know that there's a light that's being shown here. I guess the last question is, how can the public get, and I guess equally important, policymakers here on the council, how can we get access to that aggregate data that we're getting through the registry? Is that going to be published routinely, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like that's definitely an area where we continue to grow and we can build. I mean, we could do so much more, but we do have an annual report that we put together for our program that's using the data within the registry. And so that's a very concrete way of having public information available. We bring that to our housing commission each year. If, again, if the city council is interested, we could make it available just by an information memo and have you take a look at that. And we can also, as we have more years of data, we can learn more things. So,
Right.
So it's helping to keep building the system.
Okay, I just want to suggest that we take advantage of the data junkies out there in the world and our community by ensuring that we're utilizing our open data portal, make sure this data gets into a data lake that the public can get access to somehow. Even if we don't have the time to do much with it or, beyond cleaning it, just making sure that it's available, I think could be really valuable to folks who ultimately may be helping us in understanding what's going on here in our city. That'd be fantastic. Anyway, and finally on the affordable housing portal, I know that's still a work in progress. And I don't think we have many projects yet or many developments yet that are accessible. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're going to be working with a developer to launch a wait list here very soon. So we're basically just working with different developers to understand when are they releasing wait lists or when are they leasing up. And it's all about timing. So we're trying to line that up with when the system's available and getting those listings up.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like we're a ways away from being sort of in that place where we can confidently say someone will have a really good chance of finding affordable housing on this portal. Is that right?
We're getting there. We're getting there. I would say it's months away. It's not beyond that. So.
Okay, great. Look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mayor. Great questions and comments. Just to follow up on your last question, I was curious on slide 15 when you discussed the metrics. I assume we'll want to look at a metric related to the success rate of applications and how many people were actually able to help connect with affordable housing. I didn't see that in the chart.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Council Member. This is Drew Vamati. That's absolutely a metric that we'll be considering. I just wanted to kind of provide a snapshot of some things we're looking at.
Awesome, thank you. Yep. Okay, great. Well, I think we've exhausted the questions on the committee, so we'll entertain a motion.
Move to accept the report.
Second.
Great, let's vote.
Jones,
Aye.
Liccardo,
Aye.
Cohen,
Aye.
and Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all. Substantive and efficient meeting. Okay, we are on to open forum. And not seeing any hands. Well, I think we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.